what are we gonna do today? Today we're gonna make this cute little tea bag clutch. I wasn't sure what I was gonna do today either. So this is just a cute little clutch, and you open it up, and we did some cute stamping. How cute. So let's get started. So the first thing you're gonna need to do is get all your supplies together and pick out what you wanna use. You're gonna need a front fabric, a back fabric, and then some cotton batting. I'm just using a real thin piece of wool, and I'm gonna use that for my batting today. And then for your bow and your bow tie. So after you see it put together, then you can decide what fabrics you want to use. And then we will have this download on there to show you the exact dimensions of everything and how we put it together. But I'm gonna show you here because I've already got them cut out. I need 3 5 by 9 inch pieces. One is gonna be my muslin for the inside. This is the outside fabric, and this would be your cotton batting or something that you're gonna put into the center. Okay, so the next piece you'll need is for your bow. For the bow, I'm using muslin again, and it is 5 1/4 by 4 1/2, and I'm folding it in half, so now that it's 5 1/4 by 2 1/4, and we are going to be sewing a seam down this edge. And then for the tie that goes around the bow, you're going to need one piece that is 2 by 2 1/2. And then what I did with that is it's 2 inches this way, and the 2 1/2 I'm just folding in and folding in, and I press that down, and we'll put that aside. So the first thing I am going to do is sew this seam on the bow. So this is the bow, and I am just sewing this long edge seam. We're gonna turn it inside out and iron it flat. So I'm turning this piece inside out, the bow inside out, and then I am just gonna press it flat. So after you've sewn your bow, you turned it inside out, and you've ironed it flat, I know that this is gonna go between 5 1/2 and 7 1/2 of this 9 inch piece. Move my muslin for a moment, make a light mark here at 5 1/2 and 7 1/2. Lift up your muslin top piece. Where your little marks are, that is where this is going to go. Going to lay this on top. Put your muslin over the top again. And then we are going to sew all the way around and just leave an opening right here. If you need to, you can pin this also. Now you're going to trim your corners, and we'll turn it right side out. So I've just clipped the corners, and you have your opening. If you need to, make your opening a little bigger if your fabric, your batting is very thick. Now you're going to go in between the muslin and your front fabric. And that's where you are going to turn it right side out. So you can see the bow will be on the front now, and just poke your corners out. You probably should use like a chopstick or hemostats. I'm just using, this is what I have, so I'm using my rounded edges of my scissors here. And then I'm just gonna press this flat. So now what I'm gonna do is take the little bow tie that we folded in 3, and it will be turned around, but I am just going to put it around this bow, wrap it over itself, and carefully whip stitch it together, and then I'm going to turn it around so this part is in the back. Just want to make sure you don't go through the bow or you won't be able to turn it around. I'm just going to press this flat so it stays. So for the pocket, I cut 2 pieces of muslin, but if you didn't want to decorate this, you could just do it out of a printed fabric. And they are 7 by 2 3/4. And I'm gonna sew all the way around them. But before I do that, I'm gonna make a small slit in the back of one of them, because that is where I'm going to turn it inside out. So we're gonna sew all the way around this big long pocket. Let's clip the corners and turn it inside out from the small slit we made. Gonna iron this pocket flat. Okay, so what we want to do is sew 2 seams down, so that's where you know where you're going to fold your clutch. And you're going to want to mark, or you can just fold it up and iron it so you know your crease line. And the dimensions are on here, 3 3/4 and at 7 1/2. See where your fold lines are, or you can just mark it with a pencil. And you can see that when you fold this and fold this, this will fold nicely. So just sew a seam. You can hand sew it or machine sew it. This is my pocket I'm going to put on here, but first I'm going to do some of my embellishment on here. I'm going to stamp a bird right here. So I'm using my IOD Floral Swags, and it has this really pretty bird on here. And I am just going to stamp him right here. It is kind of cushy, so you need to push down really well. And then my pocket is going to go here. My tea bag is going to go here. And I'm going to put a cute little spoon in here. I might do a little swag over this. So I'm just going to whip stitch this on real quickly. And I'm also going to hand sew where I have this stitch that goes through the bag. I'm just going to go down underneath and do a few stitches here, not going all the way through, but through several layers so it will attach. And now I thought I'd use a cute little spoon and put it here. Or you could write a word here. You could do just almost anything in these 2 open spaces. But I took a piece of muslin, I ironed it to some fusible web, and I am just going to take the same stamp, and I am just going to stamp over this spoon that I drew out. And cut this out. And I just free-handed this out. Now, if you wanted to, on some of the others I wrote birdie break or tea time, and you could hand stitch that on here if you'd like. Just put your little tea bag in here, and the last part we have to do is just put my button on and my closure that will go through this and keep this shut. So I'm going to sew a button right here to this part of the flap on the front, and I'm only sewing through the top layer. I don't want to go all the way through the back. Now I'm going to get some cording or heavy thread that is going to wrap around this. So use a cording or a sari silk or whatever you would like to wrap around. And you want 30 inches. So I folded my sari silk in half, and I am just going to make a tie, and it's going to attach to the button. I'm going to bring it underneath my bow. And if you're using cording, it's going to be a lot thinner than this. I just like this, so I'm using it. Bring it up and wrap it around your button, and it will hold it. So I hope you guys had fun, and I didn't confuse you too much. It really isn't that tough, and you guys could like pick and choose what you really want to hand sew or machine sew. But at the bottom of the video, we'll have a template telling you all the sizes that you need, and you can design it any way you want. Said we use sari silk, but cording or maybe even elastic, a thin elastic cording would work really well for this. But then you could put a fun little gift or a card or a tea bag in. But whatever you do, have fun.